Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast that revisits my top favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander, joined by my co-host,
Courtney Autumn.
Venture with us as we set our sights on the infamous Hellmouth to cover 90s cult classic, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follow along from the beginning, spoiler-free, as Courtney views the show for the first time and I revisit the series for new takes and a fresh perspective on its narrative.
Each season, every episode, in order, we will follow Buffy Summers and her friends to examine their character development, the show's underlying themes, along with its major story arcs, all while engaging in conversations, sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, load your crossbows, and join us as we explore the supernatural world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's get into the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to Revamped. Thanks for joining us again. Today we will be covering Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 3, Episode 16, Doppelgangland. Aired February 23rd, 1999, written and directed by Joss Whedon. In this episode, when Anya attempts to reclaim her vengeance demon powers, a spell goes awry, bringing the alternate universe version of Vampire Willow into Sunnydale. The Scooby Gang must confront the chaos unleashed by this dark doppelganger, leading to a deeper exploration of identity and self-perception. Yeah, so I can't really did you know the last time, because I already told you about a doppelganger, but we're talking about doppelgangers, and it's really a German word that means a paranormal double of a living person, typically representing evil or misfortune, aka Vampire Willow in this episode. This is so funny. You guys, I'm just going to say it. This is our second time recording this episode, because I'm going to have the hardest time not referring back to that, apparently. I'm like slack ass doing this.
I know, it's so hard to not do that when we've done.
Yeah, we had a mess up and we have to re-record most of this episode. So here we are. But whatever. But I did not know that the last time, like that was a German word. And I was like, Courtney, did you know that? And you're like, of course, mate, I'm German. And I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Mm-hmm. But I think we touched base on the fact that we both kind of misunderstood, I guess, the actual definition, because we were just, I don't know. I think we both understood it more as there's just this other person out there that looks like you, and not necessarily this like darker meaning and like whatever else, I just always thought it was like, oh hey, like I saw this person, they look just like you, and I'm like, oh okay, well that's cool, I bet they don't. And they're like, no, they really do, they're your doppelganger. I'm like, oh,
listen, okay. And we didn't touch base on this last time, but I hate when people do that shit to you though, and then they're like, oh well, like take a picture of the person or show me or whatever, or they tell you it's like a movie actress or actor or something like that, and they pull up the most ugliest looking motherfucker in the world. Remember that one time Taylor was like, look, that guy looks like Brandon, and then you sent me the picture and I was like, that guy looks nothing like me, but also Taylor apparently thinks I look like the penguin from Batman Returns, like Danny DeVito, with the fish in my mouth. And
I wish I could remember what you were talking about. Like I remember what you're talking about, but I don't remember what the person looks
because
like.
It did not look like me. Just saying. Ugh.
No, I get that. I hate that too, especially when people are like, oh my god, you look just like my friend, then they pull them up on social media. I'm like, that's what I look like? Like, I don't know. That's weird, because when I look in the mirror, I look nothing like that. So
I remember somebody commenting back when we were having the Juliet Landau drama, and I don't know if they were just a Juliet, like a supporter or what. I don't remember if it was in that Reddit feed or somewhere. They were like, you do realize your co-host kind of looks like Juliet Landau, right? And I'm like, oh, no, she do not either. That's your doppelganger, apparently. Courtney's going to steal the podcast.
I mean, I get it, I guess.
It's just because you have hollowed cheeks and you had dark hair.
I don't think that we look alike. Like, I think her face, she actually, you know who she reminds me of? She reminds me of Xana, and not even being funny. She really does. But I have heard people, especially when like Jesse and Xana and I were like all like crossing each other's paths kind of at the same time, I got that even then, that like Xana and I look alike, and I'm just like, I must look like the most garbage ass version of myself actually. When I look in the mirror, my ego just puts a filter on my face, so I don't actually know what I look like, because y'all be comparing me to the most ratchet ass people. No offense to anyone, but seriously, I'm like, I don't see myself like that.
If that was the case, I wouldn't want to see myself at all. Y'all all remember what Inca Mummy Girl looked like, so Well, let's talk about actual people we have in this episode, not doppelgangers.
Yes,
guest stars. I didn't do this the last round, which was kind of funny, and I ended up putting it back in here. But whenever we had Emma Caulfield on the show, obviously she's returning as Anya this episode. Not Anyanka, just Anya. She's done with the Anyank vibes. I forgot to drop her credits. I guess I didn't want to like do it in my mindset, like looking back at it now, because I didn't want you to let you know that she reappeared. But movies and stuff that she appeared in. If you've seen Darkness Falls, that movie with the Tooth Fairy, it's like a horror movie kind of vibe. Really fucking scary. Me and Tiffany used to watch this shit all the time. We couldn't go to sleep afterwards, but that's one of the films that she's been in. She had a bunch of TV appearances like Saved by the Bell, Beverly Hills 90210, General Hospital. She's done voice work on Seth Green's show Robot Chicken, so she's worked with him a little bit there. And then she had the recurring role in Once Upon a Time throughout the series, and then also a recurring role on WandaVision as Dottie, and then we see her briefly on the Agatha All Along spinoff series as well. So now I've like officially reeled Emma Caulfield into the show since she's been on at least 2 episodes. But because I went back to look at her stuff and find a couple of things extra that I had never seen her in, Ethan Erickson is playing Percy this episode. And I had said last time that he was a person that's being introduced into the Buffyverse as a little character. Not that we see him a whole lot, but he's just a person that kind of like Jonathan or something. You see him every now and again type thing. That's not a spoiler. But I had forgotten to mention that he, and I honestly just forgot in general, he played in the movie Jawbreaker. He was Courtney Shane's boyfriend. I think his name is Dane Sanders in the movie. He was detective number 2 in Scream 3. I never paid that attention. I guess he's just in the room with the guy, what's the guy who plays, I can't think of his name. He's on Grey's Anatomy. Patrick Dempsey.
Oh, yes. Okay.
The guy that plays Percy, he was in an episode of Friends, the rooftop episode where Rachel wants to go up there to the soap opera party that Joey's hosting, and he gave everybody those crappy show tickets to go to the thing, and then Chandler ends up going by himself, and it's the lady with that was like on Mad TV, and she's like, my period, and like he's like, fuck, and he makes them all go. Either way, they're up on the rooftop, and he's one of the like hot guys that kind of comes over and talks to Rachel or somebody for like 2 seconds. He has the tiniest little moment. But that's the episode that he appeared in, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't really even realize that. He's got like a flashy extra shirt on. I'm like, he looks kind of gay, so I don't really know what's going on. Either way. And then our other person, we have Andy Umberger as De Hoffren, and I found out that he was in a couple of episodes as Officer Rumslow in Desperate Housewives, my favorite fucking show to reference in this podcast, apparently now. He's in an episode of Angel, and he also appeared on Joss Whedon's show Firefly, so I guess he's just like sourced out a little bit by the Joss man himself. He also did like various work on X-Files, Law and Order, ER, Will and Grace, Mad Men, and The Young and the Restless. So I'm like, he was pretty busy as an actor. And then we have Megan Gray as Sandy, and I have no credentials for her because I didn't care. But I told you it was important for later. Yeah, so were you intrigued to see Anya again on the show after like we left her last situation?
I was intrigued because I didn't know how that was going to play out since she didn't have her powers anymore or any of that ability. And I didn't know if they were going to try to weave her back in as just an ordinary kind of person in the background or what. So to see this more start off and kind of be centered around her and her actions and so on, even from when we first saw her. So yeah, it was interesting how they kind of brought back the element of where we met her and then put it in place where we're at now and how that kind of works out with the plot overall. But yeah, I was kind of intrigued and surprised with the way that they did it and the way that she's obviously thirsty again for her magic and wants her powers back and all of that. So not without wreaking havoc first anyway.
Yeah. I'll let everybody know too. I don't remember if we said it in past episodes or not, but obviously we got together and watched this online. I was like telling you beforehand, this was a really good episode. Along the course of it, it was just really fun watching you laugh at it. And that was the main reason I wanted to view you watching it, just because you did you hit every beat when it comes to like laughing at the scenes you were supposed to laugh at, which to me, like honestly just makes me feel like you really enjoy it because you were genuinely laughing at these characters. You're like, this is so funny. I know we talked about this being like a callback episode to The Wish, and it's kind of cool how they decided to twist Anya's storyline back into it, and then also bring Vampire Willow into the world to meet our Scooby Gang in a sense. That was really fun. But then I know we said too that this episode comes in and it's one of those like phases was after we got out the surprise and innocence of last season's journey. This one's the lighter in tone and kind of brings back fun and quirky vibes. So that way you're not like feeling like, wow, this show's like every episode's making me feel like I'm going to go kill myself or you know what I mean? Like whatever. Not really, but not that last episode was like that dramatic.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we're towing the line.
I'm towing the line, yes. Totally. And you know, we talked about too both Willows being paired up. Obviously, Alyson Hannigan plays both roles, duh. But the fact that she had such a great energy when it came to playing both her regular role and then the vampire role, and then switching the costuming and playing, you know, Willow playing Vampire Willow and then Vampire Willow sort of playing regular Willow. That was a fun little twist. I'm sure Alyson Hannigan had a lot of fun with it and whatnot.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
the absolute most. Let's see, what else did I talk about? Once we get into the first hour that we recorded the last time, then I'll feel like hyped up again. But right now I'm just like, man.
You're like, now we're covering familiar territory.
Yeah, I know we also mentioned too this being a Willow-centric episode, and we kind of called it back to Xander a few episodes ago having his own Xander-centric episode, and both episodes, between this being the second ups to Buffy as far as her two best friends go, essentially, as well, they both kind of got personal growth stories across this, because Willow's dealing with being walked all over and sourced out for certain things, and she doesn't want to be old reliable, and Xander didn't have his thing in that episode that he had his big moment in, but both of them by the end of the episode kind of come to light, and I think it's a really fun way to weave in that to the both of their stories, but specifically for Doppelgangland, for Willow to kind of get attention, because we haven't had a Willow-centric episode in a while. I don't even really remember there being a Willow-centric episode in season 2. Now that I like really think about it, watch, there probably is one. I mean, you could say nothing.
I'm sure there
nothing
is,
that's fully
but
focused.
It wasn't like this.
Like, other than @iRobot _Eugene, that's the last time in my mindset I call back to something that was more focused on Willow's story. It still dealt with everybody, as they always do, but that was the last time we kind of had her in the limelight. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool how we get to like see her journey with this too. And you just kind of like leave this episode, and this is something I enjoy about it and for the series, with Willow having a little bit more confidence within herself and how she like goes out into the world, what she presents herself as and all of that. Like I said, it really just like shows on the individual gains that she gets for like self-reflection and reassurance and like who she is. So that's pretty awesome, especially since last time we saw her, she was boohooing in the toilet and, you know, crying over shit she shouldn't really crying over, having moments, which is kind of funny. Anything else stick out to you that you really enjoyed about the episode?
Yeah, I think that I really enjoyed, and I touched base on this when we did this the first time, but I love that whenever we get these Willow-centered episodes, especially when we're able to tap into a opposite energy for Willow than we're used to, it's always done in a way where it's excusable for Willow, and we get to hang on to who she really is as a character, you know, and we get the secondary character, just like in Halloween, where it's like the costume thing, you know, and now we're dealing with this alternate universe thing. So every time we've seen Willow in a more darker, shadowy light than we're used to, or she's her alter ego type of thing, or anything that's just the literal opposite day version of the Willow we're used to, is always done in a way where we don't actually, it doesn't ever taint her character. We always love Willow. We always get to actually hang on to who she is. It's not like Angel becoming and jealous and in his physical form and everything, and the whole idea of Angel's existence gets erased, you know, and now he's this monster of a thing. And with Willow, every time something darker happens to her, they always separate her from her actual character, and I just love that they do that, because she is such a good, innocent, pure person to have on the show and to have on the cast. So to kind of taint her in any way for the audience would suck, you know, because we've seen it with Xander in the pack, and now we're seeing it with Faith, who always had an edge, but she's now really like going into a dark area for herself as a person. So for Willow to be kind of like the one pure, good-hearted soul that always wants to make the right choice for everyone, and she's not selfish, and, you know, she's just like, she's Willow. So I love that they do this in a way where we get to see and experience these different versions of her without actually ruining her character as a whole.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's the funny, I think when we talked about that last time too, I like brought up after you said that about how like it's cool that they did that and in a different way without, like you said, tainting the character or doing anything like that. It puts you bad taste in your mouth. They literally brought back a character that she'd like played in another episode, and it gives you a representation of what Willow would be like as a dark person, and it explores that differently because we only saw some screen time with her. We saw what kind of person she was in The Wish. And now we get to see what kind of person she is when she comes into this world, and then also interacting with her own self when she was still human and how she clearly feels about it. I don't know, it's fun.
Well, and I think that was interesting what you said, because I didn't think about the mirroring and the personal emotions that she's dealing with in the episode, especially in the beginning, as we go through and we see like she's really struggling with how people perceive her, and she kind of feels like maybe she's boring, too reliable, too predictable, there's no spark with her, no whatever, you know. And so I think that when you see her and when she sees herself as such an extreme different version of how she's used to behaving, I think that maybe that is a good message it sends at the end to herself, where she realizes that she has the total ability to act both ways. You know, she could, but maybe going forward, she finds a healthier middle ground to walk on, to where maybe she has like, she's Oz and she becomes the queen of boundaries, you know. So I think that it'll be interesting to see from this point forward how she grows as a character. But I do love the whole mirroring thing that you kind of brought up there, because I didn't really take that into account, that like she's probably going to walk away from all of this knowing how to carry herself with more value and more regard and more confidence and stuff like that. So that's,
and I think it's funny because Willow always tends to in some ways doubt herself, and I know we call back to the very end of this episode because like you were just saying, Willow kind of gets a lot from what she just witnessing everything that's went down between her personal journey and seeing this vampire version, getting to see what another version of her would be like. And she's like, you know, talking to Buffy at the end of the episode about like how I'm just going to be a shut in, I'm not going to go do anything. That vampire version of me was just so dark, and I just don't want to ever possibly become anything like that. And then Percy doubles back with like the papers and the apple and all that other shit, and then she like reaffirms in her head, she's like, wait, hold on, maybe I do have some sense of like confidence now. And then she like refragments like everything she was just saying 2 seconds. And we should just call this episode the Willow negation episode, because there's something like Trump right now with my hands like on the damn screen. Awful, but I really do. Willow doesn't know anybody. She doesn't know herself. I'm dead. We don't like them, just saying. Either way. Yeah, all that's pretty funny. I feel like that kind of like gets us through and gets some opening ideas of what, and we can speak about it as we go through the episode, which we can do now for the second time. Just the first hour. Previously on Buffy, we get a flashback to The Wish, what occurred in the alternate world, and the person at fault, aka Anyanka, aka Anya, where we are reminded that she has been left mortal and powerless since the event, and the Wishverse returned to normal reality. We open in a candlelit tomb. A black-eyed horn demon ďaħoфryn sits high on his throne, denying Anya's pleas below. He scolds her, reminding her that she cannot ask for her powers to be restored. They were a gift from the lower beings, and she's proven unworthy of them. Anya insists she was robbed of her powers, but he fires back, no, it was through your carelessness that you've lost your powers, your gifts, all the things. She reminds him for the last 1,000 years that she's wielded the power of the wish and made her mark on the world.
I brought ruin to the heads of unfaithful men. I brought forth destruction and chaos for the pleasure of the lower beings. I was feared and worshipped across the mortal globe, and now I'm stuck at Sunnydale High. Mortal. Child. And I'm flunking math.
I do like this little history lesson that we get here, because we get a little bit like of lore exploration on Anya. Now we know that she's like over 1,000 years, and we hear it like later too. She's like, I'm 1,120 years old. She's like done this for 1,000 years, which I thought was insane. I always still think to this day, I've seen the show so many times, and to know that Anya has been out there fucking wreaking havoc on men and wielding the power of the wish, as she says, and doing this constantly. On the wish, she came into the school and sourced out somebody like Cordelia 1,000 years ago. Imagine what that version of that looked like. There wasn't really schools, there wasn't really whatever, so she's just out there like looking for fair maidens to like do that stuff with, or like cave women. Did your man piss you off by going over to another cave woman's cave, or you know, so, I don't know, I didn't say that last time, but it's kind of funny to think about how far this back goes, you know, because if she's like 1,100 years old, that was a hot ass minute ago.
I think she's the oldest character we've seen on the show so far. She's older than any of the vampires we've seen.
For real. Way older than the Master. And he's been one of the oldest that we've seen so far. So.
She probably gave birth to the master.
Yes, exactly. Well, their face looks similar. Anya,
I know, right?
But I thought that was cool. He tells her it's no longer their concern. She'll live out her mortal life and die, and Anya vows to get her power center back, and if they won't help, but then by the pestilent gods, she'll find someone who will, and storms out. I remember noting, too, that I still want Anya's cloak that she, like, wears in here, and I thought it was funny how she had to basically get dressed up to, like, I don't know, she couldn't just wear her school clothes and stuff like that, and to, like, go meet ďᴜ̓hafryn into this, like... whatever the hell this little place is that she's in. I don't know if it's in a mausoleum somewhere and she went and summoned him or how she did whatever. She had to put on like the perfect kind of garments to be able to like be befitting to like hang out with his sacred space.
I'm sure they have like an etiquette for this.
Well, essentially, it kind of like makes me think of witches and stuff, how we put on robes to stand around a fire to call on certain energies and stuff. We don't just wear our, Mickey Mouse shirt. I mean, you can, but yeah, I don't know. That's the first thing that popped in my head. But it makes sense in that way.
You can't wear your witch tee.
Yeah, a T-shirt that says "I'm
Support
here,
all
witches," instead of bitches.
You can't wear your Hocus Pocus T-shirt.
You sure could.
You're like, no, that one you can.
It just depends. It sets up ambiance, but it's about respect and stuff like that. So I'm sure that's why she did it.
If Sarah Jessica Parker's on it, it's fine.
Jessica Parker. Oh, okay, from Hocus Pocus. I was thinking of like her on Sex and the City when she's always in these like long dresses and outfits and.
No, isn't that sad? Like I have watched Sex and the City, obviously, because I'm like alive, but I was never one of those people like, oh, I have to watch every single episode and every season, and I know every single thing that it's not like Friends is for me. But of course, I'm like familiar enough. But still, anytime anyone says her name, I always think of Hocus Pocus.
Really? Oh, that's
like
crazy.
That is what I see her. She's like the mascot, other than
that would be like the second thing I thought about. It is Bette Midler. That is the second person I think, or second show or thing or whatever like that she's tied to. I always think Sex and the City, but I don't know why. Like I haven't seen that show, but like one full time through, and then I've watched episodes here and there when they've been on or something. But I don't know. I think it's just because that's her iconic role. Is that? Plus, I did watch the new series like in Just Like That, so maybe that's why it's also fresh in my head. But if someone said like list out Sarah Jessica Parker stuff, those are the first two things that get mentioned by pretty much anybody.
Oh, so, yes, obviously.
This is the Sarah Jessica Parker episode. It's her, she's the doppelganger.
Somehow.
We do get a round of cutscene transition magic, though, because obviously once Anya's like, by the pestilent gods, I'm going to find someone who will help me get my power center back. We cut to Sunnydale High, where we find Willow casually levitating a pencil in front of her, focused yet doing it out in the open where everyone can see. And I was bitching about that. I was like, bitch, you just out here floating a pencil and kids are just students are walking by. Like, they're just like, so oblivious in Sunnydale, as we always say. I would have noticed that. I would have been like, this bitch over here floating pencils. I need to go talk to her and figure out how to do this myself. I need to live in this world.
I would have been like, how are you doing?
I would want to be a vampire slayer versus a witch. So, like in this life, I want to be a witch, but that life, I want to be a vampire slayer.
That's fine, because I would have taken the role as a witch, and you would have been Buffy, and I would have been Willow.
Perfect, great. We'd still have been best friends. We would have called it the Heshties. 2.0. Buffy sits beside her doing crunches. I won't say sits beside her. She's laying on the ground doing crunches, talking about how the council's running more evaluated tests on them. And I know we got in the whole thing, which I obviously very clearly know, but I was like confused back in the day what they were doing with this, because they just had the council's test with Buffy with the cruciamentum back in Helpless, and I was like, now they tested the fucking both the Slayers at that. I was like, Face involved in like some kind of evaluation that's going on where they're testing like the workout mind and body stuff that the Slayers can do and all this. And I'm like, now I got it this episode full circle, because I'm like, oh, it's an evaluation because like they accidentally killed somebody, Faith technically, and they've been wrapped up in all this energy. So instead of sending Faith off to England like they said they were going to do, they're keeping them here and just kind of having a more watchful eye, and then also having Wesley deal out these tests to make sure they're mentally stable enough to, especially Faith. I keep saying especially Faith, because it's all Faith. It's really not Buffy. We know Buffy's a fucking beacon of light to everything. She's great, as we have seen these last few episodes. But it's interesting how they did all that, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's better than Faith being dragged off, and this gives her a chance. But unfortunately, we saw what we saw last episode at the very end, where we know that Faith is now in alliance with the mayor in some way, shape, or form as well. So I'm like, y'all ain't keeping too watchful of an eye if y'all ain't catching that.
I know, right? Good point.
Buffy calls Willow's magic display neat, and Willow, noting it's all about emotional control and focus, plus the aforementioned magic, of course. She offers to hit the espresso pump for mochas, her new apparent version of ice cream therapy. Insert jokes about Willow doesn't like ice cream anymore. Now she's more adult, as Courtney said last time, and she wants coffee replacement instead of ice cream therapy. Now if she goes to get ice cream, though, she's going to be like, can I get the cafe flavored?
She's like, can I get raisins for my ice cream?
I'm dead. Well, like I am, Buffy's declining. She wants to train more so she can outperform Faith in these tests. Willow joking, well, as long as you don't check the box that says I sometimes like to kill people, you should be good. They talk a little bit more about Faith, and then Buffy remembers Willow doesn't love that topic, and we know this is true because we see Willow's pencil has begun spinning out of control, and it launches into a fucking tree nearby. Willow sighs, admitting that she's still working out that whole emotional control thing.
Clearly.
We fade to black, and we cue the Buffy theme. In Principal Snyder's office, we find once again he's roped Willow into the same mess that she dealt with last year, tutoring a student athlete. This time, instead of Gage Patronzi, it's basketball star Percy West. Gotta love also Snyder calling out Willow like as being the academic champion of Sunnydale High, and then he makes the side note to basically backhand her and be like, despite her unsavory associations, aka Buffy. Because he doesn't like her. But I was like, also, like, I mean, if you really step back and look at it, I mean, like, nobody in the school really likes Xander either. So like, all the like quote unquote losers kind of got up together. So I'm like,
also, no one in school likes Snyder, so
he's unsavory himself.
I know. That's why he don't have no friends other than the mayor, for good reason.
Oh my god, there ain't gonna be no way for me to edit that.
Oh, my bad. I just had to do it.
It's okay. Same setup as before, though, except now there's real tutoring involved instead of grade changing. Because remember last time he was just like, you need to change the grade. This time he actually wants the student to do better, which I'm surprised at. And we've swapped out the swim team for the basketball team. Once again, Willow's being forcibly volunteered, though, for something that Snyder threatens that she does. And I'm like, sucks. She should just say no. Because what's going to happen if she does say no? You know what I mean? Like,
I know. She's not in any
trouble. She gets all the best grades. Well,
maybe she's just scared that he'll start doing the same thing he's been doing to Buffy, which is making her life a living hell just for being at school. Which is what you're supposed to do.
No, he needs her. Because if not, then everybody else makes Fs or doesn't show up for class or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
And I did want to note, he even throws in the line about like last year's fishy debacle too, obviously very clearly calling back to that, which is just funny because he's like, we don't want to have another incident like we did last year with the swim team. I love when the show's aware of itself in that way. But I also really like the comment too whenever he's like telling Willow and Percy that they're a match made in heaven. And she's like, you want us to breed? I thought that shit was funny. It's always like something funny to call out. Anyways, Buffy and Willow enter the library after venting about how much they hate Snyder, his bullying antics, and how he just assumes everyone's time is his. 𝐿 coming in from his office ordering Willow that his time is hers, and Willow needs to get on the computer and try again to access the mayor's files. And with a bright okay, she just moves on to do so. She's like, okay. I remember I like made a comment and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, so you don't mind when it's Giles? I was like, you're complaining when you're walking in here about like everybody else's time being assumpted that it's yours and this, that, and the other. But then you negate yourself for the first time in this episode and just like go off on it. I was like, but I'd do it for Giles too, because Giles is cool. Giles just has a certain tone with it. He doesn't mean anything bad. But I'm surprised that Willow, like, if she wasn't at her boiling point that we start to see later on in the episode, because obviously this is the first little taste of it, even though it's out of sight of mind to her, Giles would be the one person that I'd be okay with. But then also at the same time, I could have seen this going south since Willow's already clearly feeling some type of way this episode. And Giles saying that, and she being like, to Giles versus everybody else, like, hey man, so I don't really like the fact that you're talking to me like this. Could you ask nicer, or whatever the way it needs to come out? And I feel like Giles is the perfect person to like rear back real quick and be like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that I was demanding that way, or like trying to give you an order. We know this doesn't come from a space of Giles being like, hey, Willow, do this for me because you're reliable, or because of this. No. He knows she's a great resource. And I think there's just like this reciprocity between these two people and this symbiotic energy that they just kind of get each other that way. They've always been a knowledgeable pair,
I think it's a level of like having been around each other long enough and having that comfort too. You know, it'd be like no differently than if people were to observe you and I interacting sometimes. And I'm sure at some point or another, you could be like, mate, go get me that thing, you know, or whatever. And someone else could be like, hey, bro, you want to throw a please behind that, you know, or some shit. But it's just us and our dynamic, and we know how to take each other. So I think it's just like a silent understanding.
I love a silent understanding. There are too many people in this life that do not understand silent understandings. They're not understanding of the silence, and that's why we silence them out. I'm thinking of specific things in my head right now. I'm so glad you're my best friend.
You're real right.
Faith then enters with Wesley, who's out of breath from trying to keep up with her on the obstacle course, and he's complaining to Giles that she's a little sloppy too. I remember making the comment about Gwendolyn Post calling them sloppy at the beginning of the episode, like both her and Buffy. Giles asks if he should take Buffy out instead, and Wesley replies that once he catches his breath, has 5 naps, and, you know, gets the defibrillators, he'll be ready to take Buffy out as well. And this is the first kind of sign, too, where we see that Giles and Wesley are working together in a little bit more of a sense since coming off of last episode, because normally Wesley would retort like, oh, remember, I'm the Watcher, not you. And he's just like, no, I got it. Faith then shoots her mouth off with Buffy, saying that she's going to love it. She's like, it's like fun, but it's boring. Buffy heads off to change. Faith wishes her good luck, and the room clears. And beforehand, like, I gotta say, Faith putting her little hand on Buffy and being like, good luck, and Buffy just kind of looks at her. Like, you can feel like there's already like this tension kind of like being bred like between these two since everything that happens. But you can also see that Faith, because like she's trying to, like, I wouldn't say reach out, because I don't know, it's almost like she's keeping up appearances because what she knows she's doing with the mayor and stuff, but she's still tied to this group a little bit. I'm really excited for you, because obviously I've already done the script for the next episode. I'm ready for you to have seen this stuff and see the next episode. Put it out there as a little breadcrumb for you. Like that. That'll make something I want to say right now very clear for them. So maybe I'll just save it for that. And hopefully I remember to call it back to that. But you can see that there's like awkward tension between them. They're on a thinner thread than they were before. Faith and Willow are left together, and she hops up on the desk and she's like, you know, what are you working on? And the look that Willow gives, this is what Buffy should have technically given Faith, because Willow looks over and she's like, bitch. But also Willow's a fucking outstanding human and is nice enough to tell Faith what she's doing, which is looking through the mayor's private files. And this doesn't set well with Faith, who is now his watchful eye. We find this out fully for sure because over at a new studio apartment the mayor has brought Faith to, and honestly this place looks dope as fuck. I would live here. Like, it's so much better than that fucking motel she was living in. And we find he's gifting this to her as her new living space, and she's stunned, asking if he's serious.
Of course I am. No slayer of mine's gonna live in a flea-bag hotel. That place has a very unsavory reputation. There are immoral liaisons going on there.
Yeah, plus all the screwing. This place is the kick.
She gets stoked as he notes that she can keep her old place to keep up appearances with the gang. Faith bounces over and starts jumping on her bed, the mayor reminding her that this is unsanitary practice because, you know, the shoes, and also like children jump on their beds, not full grown adults. I don't say adults because Faith's not an adult. She's like a 16-year-old, but whatever. She hops down and thanks her sugar daddy, which he doesn't find amusing, noting like he's a family man, which kind of draws a line there to let us know. I know we spoke on that, saying like they're trying to like bridge a gap to say, hey, there's not going to be any sexual interest. This is kind of like a fatherly figure, which then kind of opens up that door as like this episode being a little bit of a parallel, and even into future episodes, on how the mayor is kind of like the opposite version of Giles, whereas Buffy is, you know, opposed by Faith. Faith's the bad one, Mayor's the bad one, then we got the good people. So it kind of sets up that father-daughter relationship on the twist for the flip side between the two energies. The tone shifts though because he notes that they need to kill her little friend, meaning Willow, and Faith looks very uneasy at this moment. I always catch that because she like looks over at him when he says it and is caught off guard, and he's like, no, like I'm gonna send vampires to handle this, that way it'll look less suspicious, obviously not relate back to you. And then also assuring her in that moment too, being like, I wouldn't ask you to do something like this early in our relationship. So I'm like, well, what else are you gonna ask her to do though? Because to me, like I guess that's where that fatherly stuff kind of comes in, because he's being understanding in that way. He's like, you just left this friend group, or you're starting to leave this friend group. I'm not gonna go ask you to kill one of the people you've been hanging around with immediately. You know what I mean? I might ask you tomorrow. Or after all these vampires fail, maybe. Like, they're learning each other, which is obviously like, this is the first scene we see them interacting as well. So I think it's interesting how they're putting his care and consideration on the forefront for this girl that he's just essentially met, but also has been shitting his life up the whole season between Buffy and Faith. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Very interesting. He does offer that they continue their tour of the new place because it comes with something that's a bonus, a PlayStation. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go play that PlayStation. Where's Crash Bandicoot and Lara Croft Tomb Raider and all the other shit? Faith about to be having fun up in this bitch. I know I did note too, like, obviously I like this whole scene. You know, one, we see at the library, Faith's still in town and she did come back with Buffy and is kind of operating as she usually would be, keeping up appearances, as I called it, now knowing this. And then two, we also see that she's playing double agent for the mayor and sneaking around behind her friends, quote unquote, backs now. And like I said, at the end of that scene, being his watchful eye. But then something like pretty much prominently biggest of all of this is just making the point that the mayor got Faith out of her shitty hotel and brings her to what is a better home, a better living for herself. I thought it was interesting to call out that he's already doing stuff for her that no one else has seemed to do. And I know we talked a little bit too on the last time we were talking about like how the Buffy fandom often argues like Buffy and Joy should have let Faith come live with them and stuff. And we like went back and forth on that for a bit. And I think you came on the side and be like, you didn't really understand that mentality. Cause I know I commented on saying like, that's not their place to do stuff like that. That's an expectation. It would have been nice to have done something like that for them, but like, that's not their place in any way, shape or form. So the people that like really go off on that tangent about that shit, I'm like,
And I think the whole thing for me is, if Faith was already reluctant to accept an invitation to come over for something as simple as, what was it, Christmas dinner or something like that, or Christmas in general, her ego, it was not in a place to accept such a grand offer. You know, she wasn't willing to be vulnerable enough to accept that kind of help. And I think that was clear pretty much from the start. But also I feel like with Joyce's energy, not necessarily wanting to invite a lot of chaos, or a lot more chaos, I should say, and trouble into their life, but especially into their physical home. And Faith being a very like a poster child for trouble lately. And even from the beginning, you could tell she was a more troubled soul than Buffy is, or ever has been, in the regard of like her upbringing and personal life, even to the point of being a Slayer and before that. So I feel like Joyce as a parent, and me being a parent, as much as I want to sympathize for a child and offer them a better life if I had that opportunity, by the crossing paths basically of my son inviting a friend into like our lives, it's not like you're saying initially. Number one, it's definitely not our place. It's not Joyce's place, as much as you feel bad and as much as you might want to do that. But also, you don't know people straight out the get-go, and when they're already kind of troubled and that's clear, why would a mother open her home to something like that when she's the literal reason and only thing consistently throughout the show that wants to advocate against basically everything that Buffy has to do as far as trouble is concerned, or risking her safety or any of that. So I don't think Joyce's initial thought would have been, let me invite this person.
No, she wants to invite her to dinner, not to live. Because obviously Joyce is a woman of her own free conscience. She said that she wanted to get Faith out of that dingy motel for a night out. You know what I mean? To come over for Christmas. So that way she wasn't spending it alone. She's already gave her grace with Faith. She doesn't have to say, oh, you should come live with my daughter. And also possibly like the way that this whole show's been going with Faith anyways, that was bound to happen initially. You know what I mean? So like if you had brought this bitch to live with you,
and they're
now you got this girl living with you.
Slayers. You know, so it's like, what if Joyce did do that and she was like, okay, let's do this. And Faith was like, okay, I will. And now you have two daughters, so-called, you know, that you're providing for, that you're the guardian of. They're staying in your home. You're basically raising both of them as your children. And now you have two people instead of just one that you're constantly paranoid about every single time they step foot out of the fucking house. Like, then her anxiety just doubles over.
Joyce is double smoking joints now because she's got two vampire slayers to worry about.
At least Joyce is going to be making a lot more money because she's going to have a lot more weed on her.
I'm dead. Yeah, I don't know. I just never got it. I feel like it's a slew of people that have like made this point and stuff like that. Like they could have done more to help Faith. And I do understand that, but there are other ways versus like saying, hey, come live with me, bitch, or doing this other stuff. And like at the same time too, just as we've seen last episode, just as we basically see the rest of the season in a way too, Buffy's always sticking her neck out for Faith. She's giving her chance after chance, just to like be her friend and stuff.
I guess my thing too is for the Buffyverse, so to speak, if they're the ones with that opinion of like, oh, Joy should have done better, she should have like basically adopted Faith or whatever. Well, why are we not saying the same thing for Giles? Because he doesn't have an existing child. He has a free whole ass home that she could stay in and that he could rescue her out of the hotel. It's the same difference, and he's already their fatherly figure with more open opportunity for it. So why is that not a question? You know, like, why didn't he do it?
I don't know. People love to bring up an argument.
Well, there's
same. And I know I did note too before we closed off, like obviously I've already talked about the mirroring of like Buffy and Giles and Faith and the mayor, but I did want to land on the note that it's nice to see Faith actually appear happy, because we have not seen her look this happy on the show. So this scene, if anything, a nice takeaway. It sucks that what we're dealing with now and where her shift is going. Obviously, it's great for the show. It's going to make good on that part. Just the performance of Eliza getting to play these different versions of Faith since the beginning of this season to now, and also where she's headed. Like, it's really cool for her. But just to actually finally get to kind of play happy. Like, I don't even remember last time I, like, if anything, have seen Faith smile. I think the last time I saw her act nicely, other than with Buffy and in a certain way, was whenever she did that shit to Scott Hope in Homecoming, where she was like, oh honey, like your dick's falling off and we got the cream and the ointment and like, let me embarrass you, you know what I mean? And that still is Faith kind of being a bitch, you know what I mean? Like, but it was for support of Buffy, because she wasn't happy with what he did to Buffy. But that's the last time I saw her do like an act of kindness or be like happy about something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and then even still in the sense of being a savage. But I think the interesting part of it too is the fact that it's the classic tale of selling your soul to the devil kind of thing, and then the end result is all the things that you could ever want and that you've ever yearned for or whatever, you know, or dreamt of. And that always plays so true in reality, you know, when you pay attention to like real life, especially like the most successful celebrities are always the one we find out later are going to face a bunch of charges for sexual assault or harassment, Diddy, you know, whatever. So it's like there's all these different examples. He's just the most recent one. But I feel like it's an interesting play on the situation, because it's so relatable to what we see in real life, you know, where we see all these people that likely we've looked up to even, and that we're like, oh my God, I wish I could have XYZ and all these things. And especially if you get material minded, then you're like, oh, I wish I had like a really nice studio, condo. And, you know, especially for Faith, who's never had a lot. So I'm sure she's had a lot of the desires that.
And now the mayor has them. Yeah.
And now she knocks on the devil's door, aka the mayor, and she's like, hey, here's everything, here's my soul. And he's like, okay, cool, here's all the things that you've ever wanted in exchange. And it's all beautiful and great, you know, but I don't think that it's going to be as easy as she thinks it is. I don't know, because like, how do you not have an attachment slightly to those people that you called your friends for so long, and that she's still around, you know? And that's what mind-boggling. She's going to have to do a great job with masking her own motive.
Well, Faith's a sociopath and a psychopath, so I mean, it'll make sense how she does and what she does. Right. But I didn't think about that perspective. That's kind of interesting how you like kind of put the mayor in the devil category of like offering all the things that can make your life better and stuff like that, but it comes at a cost type thing. Like, I didn't even think about that, but that is exactly what the display of this is, and why he's luring her over to the darkness that she's been crawling towards. Like, now she's fully about to be there, so it's very interesting. Back at school, Willow meets up with Oz. I remember you called out his 𝐿_ΣPIDO bead shirt. And I thought it was funny because like her outfit that she's wearing obviously is this flowery pink number, and bees love flowers, and she's got all these little daisies all over her little like outfit along with these ugly ass smiley faces. And this is obviously the good time.
And it's like patchwork.
It is literally like patchwork. But this is a good time to call out, as iconic and memorable as this outfit is, it is not a vibe. Like this is gassing Willow up. They took the crank knob on Willow's outfits and dialed it all the way up to 14 instead of 10, so that way they can make Willow look like the very obviously polar opposite of Vampire Willow, because we got the black and leather and like purpley reds. They're all darker blood reddened colors, and now we got the pink softer, like I'm the girly girl, like I'm very bright and bubbly, light and innocent, like all that.
And it's like pastel too, which just puts that extra touch of like, I don't know, she looks like she's going to Sunday school on Easter Sunday.
Literally,
you know, and I like literally all she's missing is like her basket, her wicker basket.
And I mean, even though the outfit's ugly, obviously I would never wear it and stuff. It is a perfect little fit for Willow. You expect to see Willow in this, and you're not going to be like if I were her friend, I never would get to school and be like, "What the fuck are you wearing, girl?" Like I would be like, I wouldn't even comment on it. You know what I mean? I'd just be like, "Well, that's my friend." But I wouldn't be ashamed to be seen walking around with her or anything like that. It's befitting.
No, because you're saying, everyone who knows her and has ever seen Willow at school would not at all be surprised that she showed up in them. Okay, just Willow on another Wednesday.
You know that sweater itchy though. I'm like,
I hate that material. Just looking at it makes me feel like I have it on. I'm like, no.
I like soft fuzzies. The two walk and talk about Oz being back from his out-of-town gig, one that she admits that she's felt left out of and would have liked to attend, but obviously he didn't figure her for missing out on school, and she chalks it up to Oz thinking that she's boring.
I call that a radical interpretation of the text.
He invites her to come watch them play tonight at the Bronze, and she immediately negates herself again, saying that she has too much schoolwork. She heads out then to find Percy to plan their study session at lunch, except that he can't. You know, he's got to hang out. And besides, Steiner said that she was going to do his schoolwork for him. Willow insists that that's a radical interpretation of the assignment, but being a pushover, he clearly expects her to do it anyway, and for her to make some errors so that way it actually looks like he did it. He walks off, leaving Willow sitting there in pure frustration at how everyone uses her. She yanks out a banana from her backpack, even if it's too early in the day to eat it. It's the one thing that she has control over.
I'm eating this now. It's not lunchtime. I don't even care.
She just wants to feel like a rebel without a cause for a second.
Xander and Buffy come up asking about the old school assignments and wondering if Willow took notes that they can borrow, and of course she did. Buffy rewards her with the sexy nickname Old Reliable. Willow snapping, saying that's exactly who I am on opposite day. Buffy commenting, yeah, that's a good thing though, and Willow does not think so, standing up, ranting that she doesn't want to be reliable anymore, aka everyone's doormat. Xander commenting that they've possibly struck a nerve, and they have. Before Willow storms off, she declares that maybe she'll cut class, maybe she'll change her look, who knows, but one thing's for sure.
I'm eating this banana. Lunchtime be damned.
Buffy tries to go after Willow, but Buffy reminds her that storming off is an alone thing that doesn't work if she tags along. Also, little note that Buffy's hair is starting to look better. Like the shade of blonde is nicer, it looks a little bit healthier, and I made a joke about like how she's clearly been using like K18 and Olaplex on her hair for treatment. And I remember you were like, what do you think they used back then in the day? And I'm like, I ain't got no fucking clue.
I really want to know. I still want to know.
I'm gonna have to look up what was the hair treatments for 1999.
It's probably something ridiculous like freaking mayonnaise.
I don't know. Honestly, they had protein boosters and moisturizers back then, but I know Redken was around, and I'm pretty sure probably in the early 2000s that Redken Extreme was a thing. And I know every salon, when I used to go there, like I never got like deep masks or anything, but whenever I got my hair bleached, Nicole would always put me under the like hot thing with the like cap on my head, the hair fucking dryer, like some kind of heating element with a 10-minute mask on it, and it was always like Redken Extreme, their deep treatment mask. I'm like, y'all need Olaplex because that's what's gonna save your hair, not the rest of that shit.
That's the only thing.
But I mostly noted like Buffy's hair journey because them bangs were like a lot longer than they were whenever they were featured in Men's. So no baby bangs, and we don't have to have Leia coming for us being like, don't you come for my baby bangs.
He was really advocating hard for this.
Inside the school, Anya calls out to Willow, seeing her walking by, introducing herself because we haven't seen these two interact ever, saying that she knows Cordelia. And I like how Willow's like, oh, fun, like this is how like you're associating somebody that like like you're like, I know Cordelia, so I should be able to talk to you. And
she's like as if it's Harmony.
She's like, well, if you're friends with Cordelia, just like Harmony, like in that episode, you shouldn't really be wanting to talk to me because Cordelia can't fucking stand me. Did you not hear that I like stole her boyfriend or quote unquote whatever? She's going around telling people, you know, Cordelia's spinning some kind of crazy story about Willow after this.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's like, didn't you used to hang out with Willow? She's like, yeah, but I also used to hang out with Xander, and that was temporary insanity. She goes on to say that she has a project that she's working on and has heard Willow is the person to ask for help with it. Willow voicing, yeah, that's me, Old Reliable, but is obviously nice enough to ask what this project is. Anya notes it's nothing big, it's something small. A little spell she's working on. That instantly perks Willow up because if there's one thing she's 10,000% reliable for, it's magic.
A spell? Oh, I like the black arts.
I just need a secondary to create a temporal fold. I heard you were pretty powerful Wicca, so
You heard right, mister. I'm always ready to work some dark mojo. So, tell me, is it dangerous?
Oh, no.
Well, can we pretend it is?
Funny as fuck at the end when Willow's like, can we pretend it is? You need that danger element.
I wonder why she didn't just tell her that it is.
I know, right? I would have been like, oh yeah, well then it is dangerous.
Because you can tell by Willow's like questioning that she wasn't asking because she was worried about it. She was asking because she wanted it to be dangerous. You know, I would have been like, yeah, girl, it's whatever.
But here go Willow after the next scene talking about magic isn't something to be toyed with, Anya. Like, but you want it to be dangerous? If it's dangerous, that sounds like you toying with it. Like, what the fuck? And here's negate number 2. I didn't call that one out last time, but I got it this time. Clock ya, bitch. We cut over to a classroom, though, apparently in the middle of the school day because, you know, Willow did say maybe she'd cut glass. So here we are. They set up a ritual space on the floor with a plate at the center painted with an image of Anya's necklace. Anya lies to Willow, spinning a fake story about how it got stolen from her house and stuff like that. And it's a family heirloom that she's trying to conjure back from the time and place it was lost. She describes the spell, pour sand over the image, hope for the tiny temporal fold, the teensy temporal fold, and call on Arishan, the endless one, to return it. They begin, hands meeting palm to palm, chanting their parts.
Arishan Kashala Mayan.
Deprakt, do Tehenlo, new Arishan.
The child to the mother.
The river to the sea.
Arishan, hear my prayer.
Magical light flurries around them as the spell takes form, and both are deeply focused until Willow starts receiving flashes, visions of what occurred in the Wishverse. You know, we get the little shots of like Buffy punching Vampire Xander in the face, her fighting like Vampire Willow, and then like all the other chaos that's going on. She accidentally spills the sand in real time on her own hand as we flash over to the alternate reality where Oz is about mid-charge at Willow, you know, pushing her back onto that stake. But before he can reach her, Vampire Willow vanishes from that world entirely as the spell concludes in hours. Anya looks flustered, seeing no signs of her necklace. Where the fuck's my necklace? Willow gets up, clearly freaked, asking what the hell that was, noting it looked like some weird hell dimension, aka not what Anya described. Anya truthfully swearing that she's just trying to find her necklace, like the one time this bitch on the show has told the truth. Willow was like,
Did you try looking inside the sofa in hell?
I love
the
that.
best. Anya suggests that they try again, but Willow declines because that's a little blacker than she likes her arts, and warning that magic isn't something to toy with. Unless it's dangerous. She's thankful, though, because Anya can't do the spell alone and heads out to do someone else's homework, aka Percy, leaving Anya pissed enough to smash the plate on the floor. Cut to the old factory from the Wish, now abandoned in our reality, as Vampire Willow awakens, looking around and mumbling that this is weird. I know I asked initially, how did you feel seeing like the other vampire like Willow back in our reality?
Well, I think, didn't I say I was kind of unclear initially about what was happening? Because it appeared that nothing happened. You know, it just appeared like Willow had some weird, I don't know, premonition for a second, or mental journey. But to have the call back in that moment from the Wish, the Willow version. I'm trying to think of how I want to say
Wait, would this be technically like labeled as the, like, not the Tammy version, but like the Wish version of Willow? Like, you get it?
Yes.
Like the off-brand version?
Yes.
Like in the Wish website. I've never ordered from it, but isn't that where you get stuff? It's like,
oh my god, it is.
It's like $4 for a bed, and then you get it, and it's like a Barbie. It's a Barbie bed
for a Vampire Willow. But yes. That's exactly what I was looking for. But anyway, so yeah, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but to have that little callback and to know that that's likely the foresight for the rest of the episode and the events that will unfold was very interesting. And of course, at that point, I think I started kind of putting together the title of the episode, so it was getting more and more clear. And I was very hopeful that they would work in a scene where both Willows were in one, which I'm glad they did. For some reason, I live for stuff like that. Like one of my favorite movies growing up was Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan. And it was literally just because there was two of them. And I remember like having to get clarity on the fact that there wasn't actually two of them in real life. Like there wasn't twin Lindsay Lohan's. Because they did so good. And I was like, holy shit, she has a twin. I was like, why does no one talk about that? They Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. Why does no one
just about to say
that?
that. So that like fucked me up as a kid watching The Parent Trap. When I was
so
little,
glad.
I was the exact same way. Because like when I found out that was Lindsay Lohan playing both roles, I was like, wait, but there's Mary-Kate and Ashley. Like, she doesn't really have a twin because, they got the other movie that's kind of a similar, branch off. A lot of movies do this, but we have It Takes Two with Mary-Kate and Ashley, where it's the same thing. They swap lives and go back with the other family and stuff. They have to act like the other person, whatever. And those are real life twins. So for some reason, like up until I was about 9 years old, I was all swearing by the gods that fucking Lindsay Lohan had a second one out there. But then I didn't have the internet to Google that or look up stuff. You know what I mean?
I think I even remember looking at like the poster or whatever for it, and it said like all the cast, and it said like Lindsay Lohan was the only one that was listed other than like the adults in the movie. And I was like, holy shit, are they just keeping her twin like identity a secret? Like, she doesn't want to be famous. Like, I legit thought that. And I think I was probably like 11 or 12 before I literally realized. And my mom and I had this long conversation. She was like, no, it's like they can edit the movie this way to look like that. And I was like, how?
So cool.
And she's like, Courtney, what do you mean? You watch horror movies. How do they make it look like someone's head is severed off, but clearly they're still alive on the red carpet at the premiere of this movie where they got their head severed off? And she's like, it's graphics, it's editing. It's
I'm glad.
I was like, how?
I'm glad she told you back then, because then by the time you saw Hereditary, you would have been really confused on when Toni Collette was at like the red carpet event for that movie. You'd be like, wait,
how
she didn't have that piano wire? Like, her head's on her shoulders. What is happening?
And then every movie after that, I'm like, I don't see no scar on her neck.
My God. Well, since this episode doesn't have any beheading or anything to call back to Hereditary, this is our Hereditary drop.
We had to do it.
Getting back into the episode, though, on Main Street in downtown Sunnydale, Vampire Willow walks along, taking in how people are out and about, living a completely different kind of existence than the one that she knows. It's such a cool visual, too, because we see that she's confused and unsure, like watching this normalcy take place around her. And then when that girl screams behind her, obviously she's just like being playful with her friend and getting tugged along, like dragged or whatever, in a pleasant way. And she turns around like very excited to expect terror happening. She's like, ooh, screams, I feel like I'm at home. But then it's just like friendly stuff happening, and she's like, what the fuck is this? And that poor little old lady that walks up to her and she growls at her, I'm like, oh shit. That lady was like, like, I don't know if they it's so funny, they make the old lady come up to her, and I'm like, was she about to ask her to help her cross the road or something, or like like that's so cliche. This poor old lady just went and had a heart attack on the side of the fucking road. But yeah, overall the sequence is really dope though, because we mentioned it before, it kind of calls back to the way we walked down this road in The Wish, because it was nighttime, it was fearful, like it's very scary. She was obviously pulling her bag up on her shoulder and gripping her like self tighter, like kind of making herself feel like I'm protected. And now Vampire Willow does the opposite version of this, walking down this. So I was like, for them to create this contrast just for this tiny 20-second clip, it calls back to that. And it's really nice that they took the time to do that, just to show the very opposing sides of both of them. Over at the Bronze, though, Virgin State of Mind by Kay's Choice is being played. And the singer's hair, I said that it looks like Buffy's hair in a men's, but what Buffy would have looked like if she had one more like brunette to blonde bleach job, because this lady's hair is like dreaded and like really short and choppy. Like her bangs is just, if y'all don't remember what fucking the lead singer of Kay's Choice hair looked like in 1999, go please look it up, because that looks just like Buffy's hair in a men's. Almost. Vampire Willow, though, steps inside, taking in how this space, too, feels totally foreign. She runs into Percy, who jokes that she's trick-or-treating because of her outfit, which is a fun callback to Halloween, where Willow dressed up very similarly, very provocative or whatever. He reminds her that she's supposed to be home doing his report, and even throwing in how he owns her ass till graduation. Vamp Willow drops her iconic board now, and then punches him across the room. She moves in, hoisting Percy up by the fucking throat, telling him that he can make her terrible night better, by dying. Xander then rushes in, seeing this, and totally misreads it, and he slings Percy off of her, shouting he needs to get lost and stay away from Willow. Percy doesn't hesitate to bolt. He's like, yeah, sure, yeah, all right, and get the fuck out of here. Willow is thrilled to see Xander, touching his face and saying he's alive. Xander, confused, complimenting her new look, and she starts to caress and fondle him in ways that make him freak out, backing away fast as he blurts out, like, let's not fall into bad habits, aka hands, new places. She looks disappointed, repeating again, "You're alive." And then he clocks what she's asking. He's like, "Yeah, you mentioned that before." And he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No, everything's different." Buffy walks in to meet up with them and is instantly shocked by Willow's new look, though she still tries to play it cool and compliments her, which is very nice of Buffy. She's like, I like the new look. It's different, whatever. Vampire Willow then steps closer to Buffy, coldly saying, though, that she doesn't like Buffy. And Buffy, obviously thinking that this is like from their earlier spat, apologizes. She's like, my foot likes to live in my mouth. And Willow turns to leave, and Xander calls out like, "Okay, you're rude, but also I'm not loving this new you." And Buffy grabs her arm to stop her, and Willow spins around in vamp face, yelling at Buffy to get off of her before walking out. And Buffy and Xander standing there completely stunned, disturbed, and upset. Fucked up. I mean, obviously we get the whole scene to see how they're kind of like visually reacting to this, but just here in this moment, I remember saying that's got to be such a scare for them because they don't know what happened. They got this whole journey 1 mile down the road to walk to the library because everything's half a block from the other place, the town that has everything. But like that whole walk back to the library, either they were just silent or they were like crying the whole time. Like I can't imagine if this had happened to me and you and I saw you and you weren't alive anymore. Like, that'd be like me getting a call saying, like, "Hey, Courtney's dead." And I'm like, "Oh, shit." Like, how do you handle that in that moment? And then this fucked up reality being like, my friend got fucking turned into a vampire. Like, this is the worst of the worst.
And you don't have any idea
what happened to her. Yeah. And now we've got this.
Or when.
And then Buffy herself specifically being like, "I'm a slayer. I have to now kill her." Now she's like, this is Angel all over again. Now I got to kill my best friend. I don't know how to kill my boyfriend. Now I got to kill my best friend. Like, what is happening? I'd rather just find out my best friend was dead versus become a vampire for their world,
1,000%. Well, yeah, because now it's your damn responsibility to kill her if you want her. Yeah.
Out in the alley, though, leaving. And by the way, this is where we were whenever we were cut off last time. So now it's all fresh information. Out in the alley leaving, Willow is jumped by vampires, which she takes on easily, discarding them one by one. The lead vamp taking notice that they've made a mistake in how they were sent after a human. Them understanding this is clearly not the Willow that they intended. How cool is this, though, to see Willow do a fucking fight sequence and kick some ass? Like, Alyson Hannigan had been love in this, other than, like, the times when it's a stunt double. Just getting to, like, do this, because she got to fight a couple of little moments in The Wish, but this, here we see a whole, like, she takes out these fucking vampires. She's basically getting to act like Buffy herself. She's like, I'm in the spotlight,
yeah.
like I said.
Except evil, which makes it
right. And I know I went off on a tangent. I was like, how if this had have actually been played out and regular Willow had been coming out the bronze tonight because she met Xander and Buffy there and like was still feeling pity patty about herself, planning her own pity party about her fucking life. You know what I mean? Clearly they would have pissed her off and she would have left, or they would have been waiting for her. I don't know. Like, cause I mean, obviously usually they leave together, but Willow's been feeling sour this episode. So like, had they have actually been out there to jump regular Willow, one, this probably would have happened anyways. Cause I don't know if they would have just killed her or if they made her a vampire, but I remember we got into the conversation about saying, what if they had turned Willow into a vampire and then she went and joined up Faith and the mayor, and now you got your fucking best friend Faith and the mayor on the dark side to fight against? Like,
no.
And crazy. Like, Vampire Willow is insane. So that's not the person you want to be playing around with, especially one that comes from a reality where she was best friends with the master. Like, she's got all his mindset and persona and training under her. No, ain't got no time for that. But I was like, that's interesting how that would have paralleled, because either she would have became a vampire or she would have just died, which also kind of brings up the thing too. They're not successful. So wouldn't you attack her again if this wasn't successful? Like, the vampires never come back. Like, Faith in them, do they just give up and be like, well, we'll just do whatever? You know what I mean? Like, why didn't you go back a second time by the episode's end or in future episodes and be like, she's over here trying to decrypt our files and finding out stuff about it? Because Faith's already told the mayor about Faith, about Willow. You know what I mean? So like, why aren't they like doubling down on the task of doing this? I don't really know what's going on there.
Maybe they're afraid to fuck up.
I don't fucking know. You know what's getting fucked up though? This vampire's fingers, because Willow is pinning his ass to the ground and breaking his fucking fingers one by one, and it takes 3 times for him to understand what she's trying to do, because she's like, first one, like, who do you work for? And he's like, none of your fucking business. And then she's like, okay, snap, who do you work for? And he's like, the mayor, Wilkins. And she's like, that's still not the right answer, and breaks that third one. And then he finally grows a fucking brain and goes, I work for you. Which is pretty cool. This is a nice little display, because we see Vampire Willow is not the bitch to be fucking with, which is why Percy just got that heat inside the bronze 2 seconds ago, and also why he's scared to fuck with her by the episode end, because he thinks Willow did that shit to him.
But also, would you have known what to say? Because I feel like
so she would have broke 10 of my fingers.
I would be like, bitch, I told you who. I told you.
Literally.
Like, damn.
I wasn't
lying. Your fucking
questions. Well, thank God he was not stupid. But it's kind of cool in the writing how they did that.
I do wonder if she would have said it herself then, though, after she broke the third one, or she would have just broken all his fingers until she got all 10 of them broken. Like, the answer
Listen, that would have been you. They would have got all 10 of your fingers broken, and you still wouldn't have known the answer. And they go to grab that big toe, and you'd be like, no, that's my thumbs up toe. And then you'd get the answer then, because you don't want to not be able to do the thumbs up with your toe. You guys, just to say for Courtney, I'm going to put her on blast right now. This bitch can do a thumbs up with her big toe. She can curl all of her other toes down.
Both of them.
Oh, excuse me, both. Not just the one foot.
If you're going to say it,
say
it
okay.
right.
Well, excuse me. Both feet are fucking magically able to contort into these cool ass fucking thumbs up.
It's not magic. It's fucking not a thumbs weird, up. But yeah. It is the weirdest thing.
I wonder if this would have come up last. I don't think this would have at all. The last recording. That's so funny.
It's fine. I would learn to embrace it.
Oh my God.
It's my thing that not a lot of other people can do. Comment below if you can do it too. We have no comments on this episode.
I'll post a picture of Courtney doing it on the Facebook and Instagram page.
I was actually going to put a picture of myself next to freaking Drusilla and be like, we don't look alike.
What is happening this episode? Okay, anyways. Vampire Willow instructs this gang of vampires that he needs to get his friends together and how they're going to make the town the way it was, starting with the Bronze, because, she's the boss now. Over at the library, Xander and Buffy enter with pained faces as Giles takes notice, cutting to the three of them, then sitting speaking on how this isn't real and how they're all upset over the fact that Willow is apparently dead. Buffy thinking it's her fault after earlier and how she must have went out and got herself attacked, and now her best friend is ... walking up to them right now as the real Willow comes in and is asking what's going on, clocking the look on everyone's faces too, and she's like joking.
Jeez, who died? Oh God, who died?
Xander jumping up to jam that cross also in her fucking face. Like, he's like, back, demon. I know, you busted out laughing when this happened. But listen, the best part is when he shakes it out and then puts it back to her face like it wasn't working or something. Like he's like, the batteries are running dead. Like how you jiggle a flashlight when it's not fucking working. So funny. Xander is so comical. It's clearly not working. And even after that little shake and reapplication, Buffy runs up to hug her, realizing that she is alive. Willow commenting, aren't I usually? Willow confused as Xander embraces her too. Oxygen then becoming an issue though, and they back off, and Willow starts to ask Giles what's wrong with these two, but he forcefully pounces on her with a hug also. And I'm trying to remember what you said whenever like this scene happened, but you were like the sounds that came from Willow, like you were laughing about them. She's like, oh! Like
you could just tell he like squeezed the damn life out of her, basically. She's like,
Willow thinks it's nice that they missed her, but also wonders if they've gotten into Joyce's drug stash because they are all acting very weird as fuck. And she literally comments that. She's like, you guys didn't happen to do a bunch of drugs, did you? This is like literally the point of the episode though, where everything turns into hilarity and we did not stop laughing and nobody can stop laughing.
Literally.
They go over how they saw her at the Bronze and she was a vampire and how Giles needs to jump in with an explanation. But the only thing that he has is that something strange is happening.
Can you believe the Watchers Council let this guy go?
It's so funny because we got a call back that he's not on the team, but also Xander, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm surprised Giles, I think Giles did look at him some type of way, but also like, boy, you gotta stop.
Too much.
This is the time when your 2 cents is not even put in. Back at the Bronze, we find Anya approaching the bar asking for that beer, and obviously she can't get one because she has no ID and she's under the guise of a fucking 16-year-old, and she's pissed off because she's 1120 years old and has to order a Coke instead. Oz and Devin set up on the stage, which fun little callback though. I don't know if we really even paid attention. Like Devin's back in this episode. Remember, he was like dating Cordelia. He's obviously in the band with Oz. We get to see him sprinkled in random little episodes, but he never has a part being more than the band. Last time we saw him, I think, was in Dead Man's Party when he came to the house. He's like, Buffy, where do you want the band to set up? And she's like, the band. I think maybe, who knows? But Devin's pretty irrelevant, but he is here. And then Angel obviously comes in as well. Or Angel comes up to Oz wondering if he's seen Buffy. Oz saying that she's supposed to show as the door opens. And then that group of vampires floods in, making their presence known, silencing the fearful club attendees. Angel looks for a way out, the roof being his point because, he's going to need to get the backup. Vampire Willow entering, loving how everyone's all afraid like old times. Oz telling Angel to go get Buffy right now, and he makes his exit, climbing up those damn ropes and like getting out, as Devin calls out how badass Oz's girlfriend appears. She's like, dude, check out your girlfriend. I'm like, fuck. Now he's over here thinking like, damn, my girlfriend's dead. Like, she done got herself killed. Like, what the fuck do you think of in that moment? You know what I mean? So poor fucking Oz. Like, all these people upon like the first visual of Vampire Willow are like, holy shit. It's kind of like emotional whiplash.
Yeah, what else are you to think?
But then you get that like breath of relief and reprieve too, though, whenever you're like, oh, phew, like they're not actually dead. I did want to note too, like Oz's black and red psychic reading palmistry shirt. Like, I'm gonna need that because it looks cute.
I like that.
Vampire Willow obviously moves over to the girl named Sandy, takes her by hand, using her as what is going to occur tonight for everyone. A little example, aka turn them all into vampires. And this bitch licks Sandy's neck and then vamps out, biting into her, draining her blood and dropping her body to the ground. This scene specifically too, I remember I said it when we were watching, it kind of reminds me of like Luke at the Bronze whenever he was doing the whole harvest thing, because they like had everybody fearful, like cowarding around, bringing people up one by one to basically get turned into well, not even just turned into vampires, but just get their blood to like set the master free. It's very similar to that, which is kind of funny. We were talking about the master a minute ago. It kind of like rounds in this like season 1 energy in that way when it comes to like the Bronze is always this place that some bullshit takes place. And I remember commenting too, obviously the harvest, if Buffy hadn't never come to Sunnydale like in the Wish we saw, then that night would have unfolded that way. And that's probably maybe the night now that we can think about and resort back to the Wish and saying how Xander and Willow became vampires. They were probably turned this night at the Bronze and then sent back with Luke to be the, second up to the master and stuff like that.
That's
I never
true.
thought about that type of stuff, but now making these connections now, I'm like, oh, I might as well talk about them.
But also, why are people still going to the Bronze?
Why are anybody in this town? Like, why are they still staying in here?
You're right. Why hasn't everyone left?
Everyone knows. And if they didn't know, they found out when Joyce told them all in gingerbread at the PTA thing or whatever that fucking vigil thing was. Like, they all know, but they don't know. They want to act like they don't know that they know. Whatever. Oz tries to rush forward towards Vampire Willow, but obviously her minions hold him back, and he calls out her name and how she doesn't want to do this, but she does. Her recognizing him as a white hat and wonders why he is talking to her like they are friends. Anya coming up behind him, very obviously having heard and clarifying that he thinks that she is the Willow that belongs in this reality. This right here is the whole thing too, because whenever like they walked in here, you can see Anya perk up in the back corner where she's having her little Coca-Cola, because she takes notice of this like costuming. Like, I don't know if like on Yanka's mind, I guess I should say, if she's like watching this as a reel in her head, what's happening, like she already knows conceptually what's happening in this world without having to be, because obviously most of the time she's at Giles' apartment with him towards the end of that episode, But like, is she like watching on like a TV film, like all this play out, this whole other world that she's created because she created it? Is it just something she already knows what happens in it? You know what I'm saying? For her to be in this reality and clock that's the Vampire Willow's outfit and stuff like that she created in that other world, and that's where she lost her powers and all this other stuff. So she's already making the connection in her head that this is like tying back to their spell. You can see all that run across her face, and then obviously like she also lets on that she knows that she's come from another world and how Vampire Willow wants to get back there, and she's like, well, I do also. Back at the school, Willow is pondering how this is creepy with the gang, the fact that there's a vampire version of her out there. Angel, having made it there, comes in flustered, telling Buffy through tears that Willow's dead. And how sad, like, he's crying in his eyes. Like, he's not flooding tears or anything, but his eyes are welled up with tears, like, because he has to go give this information to Buffy, and he feels bad that Willow's dead. I'm like, no, poor Angel. He's such a softie. Sweet, sweet man. Buffy and Xander just nodding to as he looks at Willow, like behind him, because she kind of steps away from the wall, and she's like, hey, and then he's like, wait, what the fuck? He does that whole double take, and he's like, and then everybody's like, yeah, we're right here together with you on that, buddy. He has that, well, the Vampire Willow is at the Bronze now with a cadre of vampires looking to party, and then they all head out to put a stop to the feeding frenzy and figuring out who the doppelganger is. Willow asking what they're going to do with her, and they're not too sure, just knowing that they need to stop them. And Willow agrees, but tells them that they can go on without her because she's having a thought and can catch up. I don't know what this thought was. They never really followed back up on that.
That's true. I didn't
But
even
also,
think about that.
I'm kind of thinking, I'm going to relate back to it in a second. I think maybe it's this. She goes back in the library, obviously, to reach over the counter for something, but being grabbed from behind by her vampire doppelganger, who states that they're alone at last. She turns human Willow to face her and comments on how fuzzy she is, which is so funny. She's like, look at me, I'm all fuzzy. She's like, I got to comment on this outfit just like them bitches did. She lets her know that Anya said that she is the one who brought her here and could help her get back to her world. But now she's more into liking the idea of the two of them being in this world. And she's like, ooh, I could make you a vampire, not snuggle. Because Willow's like, are we going to snuggle? I'm like, bitch, you're the one that's gay over here talking about some gay shit. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, what? Why is that the first thing that pops in your head? All right, great. That's because that's what we all want to do. If we had a twin, what would happen. I'm not even going to put that out there. I'm just going to say, if you had a twin, would you not like play around? Like, not a twin sibling, but a twin like if you had a doppelganger, like, would you not be interested in like exploring a little bit, something?
Maybe. It depends what they look like.
Like you, like, what are you talking about?
No, like if they actually do or not, but without it being like too much. Because if it was like an identical version without being related, I feel like that could get weird.
Yeah.
Like maybe in my weirdest, kinkiest hour, I might be like,
well, in Vampire Willow's mindset,
I do want to know what it's like to fuck myself.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm like a fan of it, but I think most people in this world, whether they want to admit it or not, if they had like a complete double version of themselves, they'd at least be going in there like looking at each other's shit and being like, hold on, I get to see myself. Because you never get to view yourself except in a mirror that way. You never get to see your body language and like that.
Well, and they say like a mirror is not your true reflection either, because it's like the opposite. Like,
it's a doppelganger.
I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. Either way, getting back into some weird shit. Vampire Willow licks Willow's neck, and Willow freaks out at this disturbing occurrence, trying to get away from the vampire, grabbing Xander's cross and pushing it towards her face, getting tossed over the counter because Vamp Willow ain't playing that shit. Vampire Willow making her way around the counter, saying that she can force her to cooperate, but when she does see Willow, she also sees the trank gun that she's holding and gets shot by it, looking down at the arrow before passing out, calling out to human Willow.
Bitch.
So funny. First off, because I'm just having this epiphany now, when Willow walks back into the library, I never got this until like this moment. She goes to lean over the counter. I think she was going to grab the trank gun to take it to the bronze, because remember when Buffy tries to kill her later, she's like, no, Buffy, don't. I just can't kill her. So they decide to send her back to the alternate universe. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the episode, you might want to pause and go back before I just said that. But if you're here, you've already seen it, or you're a Buffy fan and you've seen it 1,000 times like me. Or like Courtney now, basically 3 times. But I think she was going back in there to get the trank gun so that way they could shoot Vampire Willow and then figure out what to do with her, because like, everybody's saying that there's this other version of her. She already kind of has this mindset of like, I can't kill her, because I was wondering literally a second ago, I was like, why does she even like be like, I have a thought, what am I going back in here for? And I guess since she was going over the counter and that's where she found the trank gun anyways, it looked like she was leaning over the counter to get that, but then Vampire Willow just distracted her in that motion,
Yeah.
So maybe that's what was happening there.
Yes.
But then I did want to obviously comment on the fact that like the way they did the CGI and the practical effects with another person dressed up as a stunt double of the second body for those shots, whenever like Willow's talking to her, they're panning from behind, they get the CGI where they're both on the screen. It does look pretty seamless. It doesn't look super shitty. If this had been season 1 of Buffy, we probably would have got some more dodgy shit here, I think it's really done beautifully, and I think it's really fun like to maybe be Alyson and play this scene out and then get to watch like the take back that they've edited where you're both on the screen. You're like, damn, there's 2 of me there. Like, you know what I mean? It's just the same thing for Friends whenever Phoebe plays her sister Ursula and they're both on screen together or stuff like that, or however, whatever way that works. Mm-hmm. They did really good job, a really good job on this. Willow has got the gang back in the library now in our next scene. Giles commenting as they are locking Vampire Willow in the cage on how this is extraordinary, but Willow claims her as a vampire is horrible and how she seems so evil and skanky, and also how she thinks she's kind of gay. Buffy trying to remind her Vamp's personalities have nothing to do with who they are. And me and you like kind of started talking right here, and I don't think you got to pick up on it, but Angel gives them a quick actually right here, because he was about to step in and be like, actually they're pretty much a representation for exactly who they were beforehand, just like the evil non-conscious version of that with no repression at all. But he like deters from his statement because he starts to say it and he stops and then doesn't give them any of that information. I don't know why he didn't say anything, but I think it's very interesting. They ask what they should do now, but the bronze is still the main goal, stopping the vampires since they might start the frenzy even without their leader there. Buffy offering up a really bad idea that she has. Cutscene transition magic over to the bronze as Angel hops down off the roof to tell the gang that they are all still inside waiting and how they must be really afraid of you, aka Willow, because they all look to Willow, who is walking up in fucking Vampire Willow's outfit very awkwardly, and she comments like it's a bit binding. She's like, well, I guess vampires don't really need to breathe. Like they can handle the extra formed fittedness. That shit's funny too. She looks down at her boobs and like they're actually boasted up. She's like, wow, look at those. She's like, this is not the outfit that I wore on a men's. Just not my little girly outfits. Giles tells her to go in and attempt diffusing the situation and also to try to get some of the vamps outside to even up the odds. Buffy saying to give the signal at the first sign of trouble, and the signal being Willow screaming. Willow, not fully into her character, heads inside. And this shit's so funny because she like knocks on the door. And whenever the vampire opens the door, she waves at him like a little like round wave and goes, hi, I'm back. He's like, what is happening?
I know. Wasn't I like, we're off to a good start?
Like, not off to a good start. Anya and that head vampire ask, where is other Willow? Her claiming that she killed her and sucked her blood.
As we vampires do.
Sending one of the vamps to go out and check on a noise that she thinks that she's heard. Us seeing that once he's outside, he's grabbed from behind by Angel, and then a stake is jammed into him by Buffy. That sucks because he did not expect that at all. He thinks it's like his master or whatever the fuck Vampire Willow is just being like, okay, go outside and do your thing. But no, you're getting double fucking cross. So basically Willow is acting like Faith this episode now. Double cross. Back inside, Anya questions why she would kill her. That was their one shot of getting them back to her world. And Willow doesn't like the accusatory questions, threatening to have Anya taken out back and killed by the vampires. Waving at Oz cutesy too to let him know that that's her. Like, she just like waves at him really quick, which is one of the cutest things.
I know, she's doing like
she's like, hey, it's me now. And Oz perks up. He was looking really pouty over there in the corner, and then as soon as he sees that, he knows like what's going on just from that interaction, which I absolutely love. But this is also a scene too. I know we don't always get to watch the things because most of the time, even when I'm watching the episodes on the stream, I skip the intro, but I know we usually end up watching it because we're trying to stay synced up. But pay attention, maybe in next season they add this little clip whenever Alyson Hannigan's name comes up in the main titles. They put this little scene in there. It's in the future, pretty much almost moving forward.
That's cute.
Willow goes on about how she didn't like the human Willow and how she was weak and walked all over and very much taken for granted. So she couldn't let her live, sending out another vampire to go check on the previous one that she sent out. And this one's funny because she pats on his shoulder and she's like, you know, he's been gone a while. Why don't you go check on how he is? Like, I don't know how they're not clocking this already, that this is completely different energy that this bitch had earlier.
I know.
And the makeup's not the same. The attitude, just the overall spectrum is just not there. Head vampire then suggesting that they should get on with the killing then, since the old plan is out. And then we clip back over to the school where Vampire Willow is unfortunately waking up in Willow's pink fuzzy number, severely unenthused at this nightmare that she seems to be in. That's just funny because when she wakes up, she's like, oh, this is like a nightmare. Like looking at herself, which is kind of fucked up because, you know, she's got, I mean, I don't think she had this outfit beforehand, but she remembers how she dressed when she was a human. So she's probably like, God damn it, I'm fucking back here again. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And then the worst of the worst happens because Cordelia comes in yelling out. Apparently they're looking for Wesley, but using Giles and books as an excuse, you know, because she's all dolled up in this like stunning ass outfit. We're like, why is she so dressed up?
Cordy.
Vampire Willow calls out to Cordelia, who assumes she locked herself in there accidentally. And I think it's interesting. She's like, hey, you. And then she's like, I have a name. And then she's like, Cordelia. Like, you know who this bitch is. You grew up with her for fucking 10 or 11 years beforehand. This bitch tortured you in school. Like, if anything, you should be ripping this cage off to attack her because of how she used to treat you as a kid. Since vampires obviously have a little bit of the energy they used to have when they were human.
Hey, you. I just love that whole interaction though, because she deadass was like thinking about her name for a second. But you would think, you know, it was like Cordelia's the perfect person to put in this situation because she's not going to clock that and be like, Yeah, actually, you're the smartest of all of us and the quickest to remember any fact-based thing. So, like, why the fuck is this
Yeah.
happening? Like, you'd be like, either Willow, you're on drugs, you got drugged and locked in that cage in the library, or you're not Willow. Like, something's
You would
majorly
think, but
wrong.
of course it's not fucking somebody that would use that smart, like you're saying. I do remember, though.
No, which works out for this
When we were
instance.
watching it, though, I think you like thought something bad was going to happen to Cordelia too, though, because you were kind of like, no, don't go in there. You're like,
I know, but that's why, is because I know she does.
now you can say that, having watched the episode.
Yeah, I'm like, no, if there's anyone who's going to get me manipulated into opening that shit and letting quote unquote Willow out, it's going to be Courtney.
But it's kind of fucked up too, because Cordelia like doesn't know anything. But also, like, did they call Wesley to let them know they left a Vampire Willow version like trapped up in this cage? Like, you think he'd make a couple calls to the people that might be dropping by when the school's supposed to be closed? Like, what if Snyder went in there? I mean, we wouldn't have cared, but I'm just saying, a whole problem. Well, Cordy eventually starts looking for the keys that she needs to help Willow out, and Willow makes up fake reasons as to how this occurred. Cordelia moving over to almost let her out, but then remembers that she's never had the opportunity to talk to Willow, woman to woman, while she's locked up. And Para Casas that they finally go over the ethics of boyfriend stealing. I love it too, because she like thinks to herself, she's like, what could we talk about? How about that bullshit in Lover's Walk?
I know, literally.
She's like, we haven't talked about this since it happened. So I'm like, oh my God. I literally wrote in my notes, captions, oh fuck.
Like, let's have a therapy session.
Cordelia needs to vent while she's locked up. Back at the Bronze, though, Willow is trying to speak on how she's bored with the killing. And this is that moment, too, where she starts to walk by that girl. She runs her fingers through her hair and they get stuck. And then she has to physically take her hand out of the girl's hair. This is my fucking favorite. But y'all, like, she's dying right now. But like, Courtney fucking died when she saw this. And I'm so proud of her because this shit is so fucking funny. And I'm glad that you had that reaction. Like, I almost felt like we had to pause the episode to like
I couldn't move on. It was too much. It literally brought tears to my eyes. And it was just because like the acting for it was also so flawless, because I don't even know if that was acting, to be honest. I don't know if that just like happened as they were like doing that take for that scene, and as Alyson was walking by that chick's hair, it just happened to get caught and she's like, oh shit, and then she just like keeps talking and rolling with it. And I don't know if that happened as accident and they were just like, you know what? This is fucking great. We're keeping it in here, because I don't know how you like her hand legit.
They teased it and put her hand in there. No,
ain't no way your hand is going through.
I'm glad that they did it. Obviously, it's planned out, but it's funny because we know that Vampire Willow is touchy feely, and Willow has already gotten this very like she got her neck licked. She knows what's going on. She knows that this bitch would fondle through someone's hair, and we probably would expect somebody like her to sweep by. And obviously, Vampire Willow would have done this more swiftly, and it would have actually made it through the hair fucking strand. But the fact that they're the writers and like the people who direct and put this in there to say like, Alyson, you're gonna get your hand stuck in it to show how quirky and like fucked up, like it's just so cleverly placed. I'm so happy it's in here.
Like, it just tracks hard for Willow's actual personality. And I feel like anyone who was like bearing witness to the situation that was supposed to believe, or even up to that point alluded that Willow was a vampire, I think they lost all sense of that in that moment. Like, this is a skit.
Yep. 100%. I also have to note too, I wrote my notes because you commented afterwards, like after you were finally wiping tears away from your eyes, you were like, I'm gonna think of that when I'm having a bad day in the future.
I am.
Oh shit. She continues going on saying that killing lacks fun, even though the vamps claim that the fun is the eating part, and she suggests that like let everybody go for a head start. And then Anya clocks that something's different here. Willow suggests, well, why don't we start the killing with you? Anya pointing out to the vampire that she's clearly a poser. Over in the library, we see Vampire Willow, like most people, wore out and annoyed with Cordelia, looking depressed in the cage, listening to her ramble on about what she even liked about Xander, even though he was a loser and all this other stuff. And also she's sitting there drinking from Giles' green mug. She's stopped and gone over, made herself some tea and made this bitch wait while she made some hot tea and brought it back over there to sit and talk. So this was a whole 10-minute stretch of problems. That's why this vampire looks like this. And she's like, it didn't make it okay for you to do all this to me. But then she has to stop mid-sentence because she's like, what? Because this bitch is staring at her neck. And she's like, do I have something on my neck? And I love it because Vampire Willow's like, not yet. I'm like, oh shit. But with a sigh, Vampire Willow confirms that she's very sorry and in the wrong and how she will never steal Cordelia's boyfriend again. And Cordelia snarks like, you could, and lets her out of the cage, saying that she can repay her sometime. Vampire Willow, now vamp-faced, stepping out, claiming they should do dinner now then, if that's the case. And they're like, you're the dinner. It's always funny how they do this with like shows with monsters or something, like somebody that's going to get eaten, whether it be cannibals or anything like that. They're always talking about like, let's do dinner, like you're the dinner. I'm like, okay, worn out vampire cliche.
Like Meals on Wheels.
Yes, exactly. Happy Meals with legs. We then see Cordelia running out into the halls, being pursued by Willow Vampire. Wesley nearby, hearing her screams, and Cordy is cornered in the girls' restroom. Wesley hopping in front of the vampire as he holds up a cross and threatens holy water usage. Finally, she rolls her eyes because she's like, I'm not into this, and leaves the fucking situation. Wesley, forgetting Cordy's in there, is spooked by her when she comes up behind him, thanking her for her life being saved, with a hug at that. She's like, oh, thank you, and just throws herself at him. She's like, this is my time to get close to this motherfucker. And he's enjoying this a bit too much, and then questioning if that was really, and Cordy cutting him off, being like, Willow, they got Willow. And then like in that moment, whenever they could ponder this a little bit more and be like, this is upsetting, she turns and looks at Wesley and be like, so are you doing anything else tonight? I wrote my notes, I was like, girl, what in the fuck? Like, you're truly back to basically regular Cordelia that we've been seeing. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you don't even seem to be caught off guard by this or upset or whatever. You're just like, well, she fucked me over. Now she's kind of like out of the picture. I ain't got to worry about her stealing my boyfriends for sure now.
I don't know. I don't like the feel of like sociopathic energy we're having lately, like between that and Faith's like entire being. I'm like, okay, we're really promoting.
I know. And like, this is kind of like tying back in with what we talked about with amends whenever we were like talking about Cordelia calling out Xander and like putting his family trauma in like front of all his friends and embarrassing him.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of just shows her like how they've taken a couple of steps back with Cordelia, because she's already not in this season. Ever since Lover's Walk, we haven't seen her in episodes too much. They have found ways to integrate her for sure, but it's very small and minuscule compared to how she was in the show at the back half of season 2 and into season 3. She was like a part of the gang, but to me it just is fucked up, because like, even if me and you stopped being friends and I found out that you passed away, I'm going to still light a candle on my altar for you and like be upset and shed some tears. I mean, I'm not saying Cordelia has to lock herself in a room for 3 weeks and cry over Willow being dead, but at least don't be so like,
no. It was just so, it was a reflex comment, you know, which made it worse because there wasn't any time, like you're saying. She could have taken a moment.
A literal moment. Before worrying about what she was doing.
But she did it. It was like a millisecond. And then she's uttering other words that have nothing to do. You know, she's just being dismissive. But I don't like the energy of like, I think I preferred Cordelia's energy in season 1 when it almost seemed like she was this classic case mean girl bully kind of thing. The angle that they're taking with her now kind of surpasses that a little for me. Because I'm like, you're going beyond like bully energy, because like you were just saying, she was really low blowing Xander, and not just in like the confidence of their own conversation. It was in public and in front of all their friends. And then on top of it, now you're just dismissing the fact that basically Willow's dead and a vampire, and you're just like, well, anyways, what's going on tonight? You know, I'm just like, dude, that's like, yeah, you've gone from bully to sociopath. Literally. And I don't know if she's just like trying to prove a point, or if she's like that wounded from the Xander Willow experience or what. But I'm like, girl,
well, clearly it's still bothering her, and she does need a therapist, because Vampire Willow was not the therapist session that she needed to be sitting there therapizing with and talking to, venting.
That tea did nothing.
But, and like we talked about episodes ago where she's like obviously still bitter over the Xander thing, I would expect her to be like that over Xander, and obviously the way she's been acting towards Xander, because you would act that way towards your ex. But like, I don't know, it's just ways that they paint Cordelia to kind of be unkind or just like aloof to like other people's pain and things like that, just to service her own ego and character, because now she's back off to worrying about how she can have this date with Wesley, or like go out to dinner with him, or do whatever the fuck she wants to do.
Now she's extremely self-absorbed.
Wild. Yeah. Didn't expect to have a whole 4-minute conversation about Cordelia, but that should be wild. I did also put my notes so that I thought it was really funny that this was the second time this season we've seen a vampire be warded off with holy water. Because like that's what the second up was that got Vampire Willow to actually go. She's like, I don't feel like getting my face scalded tonight. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Back at the Bronze, Anya talks about how she is so tired of humans and how she thinks that the vampire should eat Willow. Willow, distressed, calming, like, I'm a blood-sucking fiend. Look at my outfit. Like, this is clearly who I am. Like, what are you talking about? This is bullshit. The lead vampire finally cluing in to what he should have smelled earlier, the fact that she's a human. Willow scoffing to question herself a human. She's like, well, could a human do this?
Sure.
Yeah,
I
think,
Let's do that.
It's funny. Buffy and Angel rush in, taking on the vampires, the captives fleeing out and taking cover. During this also, Anya has the audacity to look over at Willow and smile like, oh no, hey, we can still be friends. But then Willow just punches her in the fucking face. Which is so great. I'm gonna put the clip in here where she's like, I'm so glad Willow got this moment. So real Willow got to actually punch somebody this episode and have some power. Like, that had to, if anything, give her a little step up in her energy, being like, I can take charge over something, I can control something differently. But like, for fucking Anya to like look at her and be like, oh hey, I was just kidding, like, that's kind of what that gave. But then she gets punched, so whatever. I wrote my notes too to like comment on it, because especially watching it back with you, I was taking notes again, and like Buffy comes in here kicking ass immediately, which we expect of a Slayer, but like Angel, he's a boss during this fight, and you just see these two people back in the background fighting these vampires while this other stuff's happening when you're really looking. And there's this one moment where Angel picks up a fucking pool ball off the table, and this vampire that he's fighting is a foot away from him, and he throws it directly at his face and hits him in the fucking, I don't know, like right in his eye socket. And I was like, holy shit. Angel's like, you got something in your eye. But I was like, can you imagine a vampire like Angel, especially full force throwing a fucking, it's like Xander getting hit with Spike, that metal thing in Lover's Walk, and was talking about how his head should have just rolled off his shoulders. Like, I'm glad you're a vampire and you can take some hits, but that, if you was a human, that ball would have went through your fucking skull.
I know. I'm surprised he didn't just turn to dust just off of that.
But I love it, like, too, because it's like Angel's using resourcefulness just like Buffy. He's like, I don't have a weapon right now, I'm gonna use this fucking pool ball because it's just what I got. But also, like I said, it's backed by force, so you know that's just gotta hurt. And then I did write a note too, because I asked you if you saw it, and you were like, no, I didn't see it, I missed it because so much was going on. But you flash over and you see Xander, whenever they're like, Xander, come on, like Oz is trying to coerce him to come with Willow, and Xander's over here trying to climb the ropes like Angel did to get out, and he's just hanging on them, dangling around. And I'm like, why did they put this in here? That had to be for us as the viewer, being able to look at this and be like, oh yeah, we saw Angel scale those earlier, and technically Xander's probably always jealous of Angel and he wants to try to do the same thing, but he wasn't there to have seen that. So it's just like this funny little like energy they put out there. I'm just like, wow.
It could have also been like, I think sometimes when you see a rope like that, you know, I think it's like your reflex to be like, oh, I want to climb this. And then especially if you're in a case scenario where like, I gotta get the fuck out of here quick, you see a rope, it may literally have just been like a cat near a tree, you know, where it's like, I gotta get out of here.
He's trying to scale up it.
And then, of course, like you're saying, for the viewer's pleasure, you see him fail miserably and go absolutely fucking nowhere. When literally, like 5 seconds ago, you just saw Angel like do that, like he's like trained for this for life.
Well,
you know?
The three of them try to move because Oz is like, "Come on, Xander, stop what you're doing," and they get cut off by Vampire Willow, who tosses Oz off the stage and then punches Willow to the ground before mounting her. In the back, Xander is now met up with Giles, however, whatever way, and they take on and slay a vampire, which I thought was pretty fucking cool. They like fight that vampire together, and Willow struggles against herself. Buffy takes out the few vamps that she's been dealing with, slinging that one into the baked goods, and Courtney fucking goes, "No, not the bagels." That shit was so funny. I was like, Courtney, calm down. You're like, but the bagels, mate, the bagels. We'd be loving some bagels.
I don't know. You don't ever like pay attention to that. It just happens to be like your favorite thing, and it like gets ruined because you know, like them bagels got ruined 100% for that scene, and you just like that's where my mind went.
If they were
initially.
real,
I was just like, all them bagels y'all just wasted. They probably were
prop
real
food, Courtney. You know, and the real food in that display case.
Do you know they don't care about wasting $20 on bagels when they're spending $2,000?
Oh, true. Well, they sure were wasting probably real bagels whenever Joyce was spreading jam and jelly on the damn things back in the last season. That was nasty. Ugh, gross. Whatever season that was. Yeah. And then we get a really cool 2K per slay from Buffy when she uses the pool cue to stake the head vampire that we've been dealing with all episode, running up towards the stage 2. And when she goes to run off, she takes that fucking pool cue and bashes it over the back of the other vampire's head and breaks that bitch in half. And I'm like, ooh, that had to fucking hurt too. And she hops up on the stage and brings it up to Vampire Willow's back. Willow calling out, Buffy, no. And without any hesitation, Buffy halts and pulls Vampire Willow off of her. Vampire Willow stating how this world is no fun, and Willow retorts, well, you notice that too? How cool to see this little like mirroring right here between when Buffy said Faith no and whenever Willow tells her Buffy no, and the reflexes that we have here. And then it's even specific because Willow tells her nice reflexes and Buffy's like, well, I work out. And we know Buffy's been working out this episode and all this other stuff. But it just goes to show that if Faith hadn't been the type of way that she was in Bad Girls, that she could have had a quicker reflex, just like we've been saying before knowing the knowledge of this episode, that as a Slayer, she should have had better reflexes. But Faith just acts out of carelessness. She's just like, is always like, oh, I'll think about it later. I'm going to do this now type person, you know? But
well, and she doesn't listen to anyone else. You know, I think Buffy they have a lot of trust in each other in this friend group. So it'd be no different than if you were yelling that at me, you know? So I'm like, especially in that case scenario, because like the last thing I want to do is actually kill someone or do something like that. But yeah, that was pretty, I noticed that right away too. And I'm glad that you brought it up while we were watching it, because you were like, you notice whose reflexes are on point and whose aren't.
And that's what the show's trying to kind of call out there too. Very interesting. Back in this world's Bando factory, Giles lights candles as Oz helps him set up a similar ritual space that we saw earlier. Anya kneeling with them, and Xander moving over to Vampire Willow, who we see has exchanged clothes back with regular Willow, as he asks her, like, you know, he walks up and he's like, so in your world, I'm like some badass vampire, right? And this bitch just rolls her eyes at him and doesn't speak to him at all. And he's like, yeah, I'm bad. Like, Xander, calm down. Buffy talks with our Willow about how they have unsure feelings on releasing this thing back into the wild. Willow noting that she just can't kill her. At least if they send her back to her world, she stands a chance. And that's how it should be. Giles cues them being ready and notes that Anya shouldn't try any of her tricks. And she doesn't. She's like, I don't need any tricks. When I get my powers back, you will all grovel before me. Basically everybody laughs, but I like this little like side by side of Willow vampire and regular Willow rolling their eyes together. Like, that's iconic in itself. Willow tells her doppelganger good luck and to try not to kill people, and then gives herself a big hug. Vampire Willow leaning in a bit too much as Willow jumps back too, just like Xander did. She's like, hands because clearly this bitch grabbed her ass or some shit like that while she was hugging her. It's like, no. Willow knows she got turned on by that. Both of them. Which Willow? Get it? Which Willow? Either one. They kneel with the others at the altar and do the spell. We get a flash of light, and Vampire Willow reappears back in her dimension's timeline right at that moment, unfortunately for her, when Oz was pushing her back into that stake. It impales her just like it did back then, only this time she realizes what's happened and has the knowledge of this world, and she just says to herself, aw, fuck, as we get the final 2K per slay of Vampire Willow. So funny of them to put that in there, because the last time she just falls back into the stake and dusts. This time, like, she comes back and she's like, damn, I just went through all this and now I'm fucking getting killed anyways. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That sucks.
I felt so bad for her, even though, like, you don't want to, but you do anyway.
Yeah, and, like, that's a point right there. Like, you do kind of feel bad. Like, oh, Vampire Willow still died. But also, like, that's probably how it should be, because she's crazy in her reality. Like, that's how this timeline ends tonight.
I don't think both can exist, whether it's on the same dimension or not.
Absolutely. In our world, Buffy sits with Willow at school the next day and asks if she wants to go out later. Willow saying that she actually just wants to stay home and be a shell of a human, do normal activities, all the things human. Clearly still a little shaken from everything that happened and where the path of vice seems to lead. And then Percy shows up and has this whole completely different attitude. He hands Willow the paper that she wanted him to write for her, but he's done it himself twice, because he explains that he wasn't sure which Roosevelt was the president they were supposed to be doing the paper on, so he did both of them, which is a cute little inside joke from the writers too, because there's two presidents, two Willows. You get the idea. He hands over even more work that he's done, offering to tweak them if she needs him to. He's like, I can retype that if you want, because remember he said he had dodgy typing earlier. Clearly intimidated by her now, and he walks off, but then doubles back just to bring her back a fresh apple and place it on top of those papers. Willow sits there basically with her mouth dropped as Buffy looks and asks again, so you want to go out tonight? And Willow's like, does 9 sound good? Clearly having completely changed her mind. We fade to black, and here endeth the episode. and hopefully the actual recording of it.
Let's hope for the best.
Themes and metaphor for this episode. Obviously, Doppelgangland is a very fun episode, but beneath all of this humor and the chaos that's going on in it, it's loaded with themes about identity and self-discovery. On the surface, Vampire Willow running around causing mayhem, very hilarious and a little terrifying. It's also the heart of the episode being about Willow confronting aspects of herself that she usually keeps hidden. This is a classic shadow self story, and obviously Jung talks about the shadow, the part of your personality that you repress or deny, and this episode literally externalizes that in Willow's doppelganger. The vampire version is impulsive, bold, and unrestrained, and it forces the real Willow to face who she could be if she let herself go of her normal, careful, cautious nature. It's not about becoming evil or turning dark. It's about understanding that everyone has different sides to themselves, and sometimes those sides come out in ways that we can't fully control. What's really interesting here is that it moves Willow's arc forward. Even if it's funny on the surface, we see how she starts to wrestle with confidence, with risk-taking, and what she might be capable of without her even compromising who she truly is, which is very interesting because you brought that up yourself earlier, Courtney, with not even knowing that I would put this in themes and metaphor. I had forgotten until now. It's an episode that highlights the tension between restraint and desire, responsibility and curiosity, and you can see why this moment is important for her long-term growth. On top of that, there's a neat interplay with Buffy's storyline here. While Willow is dealing with her doppelganger, Buffy is focused on testing and training, pushing herself to prove that she's capable, especially in contrast to Faith. Both storylines are about self-reflection. In a way, Buffy's being more about discipline and mastery, and Willow's about recognizing the part of herself that she usually hides. Faith's arc in the background really emphasizes that choice. Some people embrace the dark and others learn to integrate it in a healthy way. So metaphorically, the episode works on a few levels. The doppelganger is a mirror, a literal and figurative reflection of what happens when we act without restraint or deny parts of ourselves. And the chaos that she brings is the show's way of saying these hidden sides don't just appear. If we ignore them, they spill into our lives in ways that we can't predict. It's smart and funny, but it actually sets up some key moments for Willow's evolution later. I'm going to leave that as a breadcrumb right there. Buffy fun facts. Buffy makes a comment about Faith not being on the cover of Vanity Fair, and I thought that was funny because there's the magazine that's called Vanity Fair, but then she said Sanity Fair. I'm like, ooh. I was like, that's kind of fucked up. In our original take, I burned it in the actual thing, but Faith, whenever she's working out with Wesley and they come in, she calls him Princess Margaret, and Princess Margaret is a Countess of Snowdon, who is the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth. She was a heavy smoker for many years. She would often have trouble breathing and stuff. She eventually had a stroke and like a heart attack and like had to have lung surgery and all this other stuff. So when Faith calls him Princess Margaret, it's because he's out of breath and wheezing and shit like that. So she's trying to relate her. But I was like, they gave Faith this comment. You think Faith knows who Princess Margaret is? Like knows this history lesson?
Fuck no.
Right.
Also, you think Faith don't smoke?
She sure does. Camel Crush. Bold. Remember them nasty ass bowls we tried?
Those are gross.
And this isn't really a fun fact, but the episode is interesting because it calls back to a lot of past episodes of The Wish, Go Fish, Passion, Lover's Walk, and Helpless across the episode. So it shows that they're all connected in some way to create this story. Now we can get into our final slays. Final slays, take two being Willow and Willow. I don't know.
and our take two.
That's why I'm saying take two. Because this is the time we actually got to the final slays. I had a lot of quotes from this episode. I'll go first. So sorry if I steal any of yours because I have a slew. Most of them are from Willow because duh. But I like at the beginning when she's like, why the sudden calisthenics? Aren't you naturally buff? And then she's like, buff. I'm like, you laughing at your own damn joke. Like, you need to calm down. Obviously, the comment about eating this banana lunchtime be damned is just iconic. Whenever Oz is confronted with Willow and she's like telling him that she's boring and he's like, I'd call that a radical interpretation of the text because like that was clearly nowhere near what the fuck he meant. But Willow's just like I said, playing the pity party on herself. So she's upset. So she's taking any kind of lashings that she can give herself. That you need to calm down. Another one I had was whenever Willow is with Anya and she's like, that's a little blacker than I like my arts. And then a moment later, she's like, well, did you try looking inside the sofa in hell? I think we talked about that in the original recording, how we both had that as like one of our quotes because that was really fucking funny. Yeah. Buffy telling Vampire Willow at the Bronze, thinking that it's regular Willow. You know how my foot likes to live in my mouth. I'm going to start saying that because I'm oftentimes putting my own foot in my mouth sometimes. I'm like, I need to remember that one. And then the last one I have, thank God, after my 400 quote list, when Buffy, Willow, and Giles are speaking to Willow being vamped, and Giles is like, she was truly the best of all of us. And then Xander goes, way better than me. And then Giles agrees, talking about much, much better. I don't know if you caught that or not, but that's so funny. He's like fully agreeing that Xander, you're not shit compared to Willow, especially.
Much better.
What are yours?
I love that.
If I didn't name them all out.
So obviously one of mine was the did you try looking in the sofa in hell? I really loved when Xander was talking about Giles and he was like, can you believe the Watchers Council let this guy go? And then my last one was Willow and she's like, I'm so evil and skanky and I think I'm kind of gay.
I love it. Clearly Vampire Willow was definitely gay. And skanky. Who'd you give your Shining Slayer to?
Mine went to Willow, obviously, not just because it's centered around her, but I think she had the most personal turmoil to already deal with, just starting out the episode kind of rough for her, emotionally speaking, and then to have all this shit unfold, but then to still kind of come out in a way that's very Willow. You know, like she could have killed herself, her alter self, or she could have not stopped Buffy from doing so. There could have been all these other things. And I think that the way that she just like carried herself through the end of the episode and through the episode, and even her just like trying to arrive and do her best to be a vampire version of herself after finding out what actually exists, like trying to really fill that role within the role, was just really funny and great. And I think that she just stole the show. She stole the show.
I agree. That was pretty much mine too. Only note that I had was that, like, in quotations, I put Alyson Hannigan is the Shining Slayer this episode because she had to do all these Willow parts and act this all out and create this for us to laugh at and have this whole moment with. Very so if it weren't for Alyson Hannigan, we wouldn't even have Willow. So there we are. It's Willow all over. What was giving you the weekly Wiggins?
I wrote down Willow's floral pink sweater, pastel skirt, and tights.
Damn, you even named down the tights. You're like, everything down to the shoes.
But it was also because, like, if you pay attention to the color coordination of it, they used, like, every shade of pink they could in her outfit, and every shade of pink, like, that you could even dream of that you haven't heard of yet, that doesn't have a name that you know. Like, that was the kind of thing. And I was like, they literally went above and beyond and was like, give me every single shade.
Agreed.
As 50 Shades of Pink was her outfit.
Oh my god, I'm glad you chose the outfit. Mine was Cordelia's lack of care for Willow possibly being a vampire, as we've already talked about. Like, you know, we're not surprised by it and stuff, but I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, I need to see the scene though when she's updated on what occurred and how Willow's not actually dead and stuff like that, and see how she plays all that in her head. Because if you were that unbothered, I was like, but also that's why that's my weekly wigs, because of the unbothered nature of Cordelia. That Slade moment for me was Willow decking Anya in the face at the end. Getting that punch. Cool. That's totally a Slade moment. Same. And then finally our Slayerette predictions. The next episode is entitled Enemies.
Ooh. Oh. Well, I just got a very strong intuition of faith. Does it have something to do with faith? Is this faith-centered? Okay. So obviously maybe we're going to start getting more into the nitty-gritty of like what the fuck faith is going to be doing from now on, what all this means. Maybe somebody starts picking up on it. Maybe Buffy starts becoming aware of the fact that faith is an enemy and not a friend. And then we're going to start duking it out.
Damn. All right, great. I'm excited about it. Oh, that's so good. All right, great. Well, that pretty much wraps up our second discussion on Doppelgangland without them knowing it. But yeah, let us know what you think of this one, and if it had you laughing as hard as it did us, because it is the best. Were you guys caught off guard by Faith's new double agent energy, playing both sides? And how about the return of Vampire Willow? What do you guys think of Willow tapping into some not so old Reliable Dog Guiser vibes while showing off her personal growth this episode? Let us know. Other than that, we'll be back next week to cover Enemies with special guest Tabby Gibson from Becoming Buffy podcast. You already know that is going to be a good one, so be sure to show up. Other than that, we'll talk to you guys next time.
Well, look at me. I'm all fuzzy. What do I want with you? Your little school friend Anya said that you're the one that brought me here. She said that you could get me back to my world. Oops. But I don't know. I kind of like the idea of the two of us. We could be quite a team. If you came around to my way of thinking, would that mean we have to snuggle? What do you say? Want to be bad? This just can't get more disturbing. No more! You're really starting to freak me out.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale. We also would like to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatch podcast.
Or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com. Additionally, we will be choosing one of your messages to shout out in an upcoming episode release. And if you happen to love abandoned places but prefer them vampire-free, check out Echoes of Elsewhere, an urban exploration podcast, where I interview urban explorers about the eerie spaces they uncover, anything from haunted schools, forgotten mansions, and tunnels that probably don't lead to the Hellmouth. From history to mysteries, tips and tricks of the trade, I dive into all things Urbex. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, the Earth is definitely doomed. This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.